Alternating current, AC. These terms refer to how the current varies in time. Direct current as produced by example from a battery and required by most electronic devices, is a unidirectional flow from the positive part of a circuit to the negative. 51.11 If, as is most common, this flow is carried by electrons, they will be traveling in the opposite direction. Alternating current is any current that reverses direction repeatedly. Almost always this takes the form of a sine wave. 51.206.07 Alternating current thus pulses back and forth within a conductor without the charge moving any net distance over time. The time averaged value of an alternating current is 0, but it delivers energy in first one direction, and then the reverse. Alternating current is affected by electrical properties that are not observed under steady-state direct current, such as inductance and capacitance. 51.223.25 These properties however can become important when circuitry is subjected to transients, such as when first energized. Electric field. The concept of the electric field was introduced by Michael Faraday. An electric field is created by a charged body in the space that surrounds it, and results in a force exerted on any other charges placed within the field. The electric field acts between two charges in a similar manner to the way that the gravitational field acts between two masses, and like it, extends towards infinity and shows an inverse square relationship with distance. 40. However, there is an important difference. Gravity always acts in attraction, drawing two masses together, while the electric field can result in either attraction or repulsion. Since large bodies such as planets generally carry no net charge, the electric field at a distance is usually zero. Thus gravity is the dominant force at distance in the universe, despite being much weaker. 41. Field lines emanating from a positive charge above a plane conductor. An electric field generally varies in space. 52, and its strength at any one point is defined as the force, per unit charge, that would be felt by a stationary, negligible charge if placed at that point. 19. 469.70 The conceptual charge, termed a test charge, must be vanishingly small to prevent its own electric field disturbing the main field and must also be stationary to prevent the effect of magnetic fields. As electric field is defined in terms of force, and force is a vector having both magnitude and direction, so it follows that an electric field is a vector field. 19. 469.70 The study of electric fields created by stationary charges is called electrostatics. The field may be visualized by a set of imaginary lines whose direction at any point is the same as that of the field. This concept was introduced by Faraday, 53, whose term lines offers still sometimes sees use. The field lines are the paths that a point positive charge would seek to make. As it was forced to move within the field, they are however an imaginary concept with no physical existence, and the field permeates all the intervening space between the lines. 53. Field lines emanating from stationary charges have several key properties. First, that they originate at positive charges and terminate at negative charges. Second, that they must enter any good conductor at right angles, and third that they may never cross nor close in on themselves. 19. 479 A hollow conducting body carries all its charge on its outer surface. The field is therefore zero at all places inside the body. 38. 88 This is the operating principle of the Faraday cage, a conducting metal shell which isolates its interior from outside electrical effects. The principles of electrostatics are important when designing items of high voltage equipment. There is a finite limit to the electric field strength that may be withstood by any medium. Beyond this point, Electrical breakdown occurs and an electric arc causes flashover between the charged parts. Air, for example, tends torque across small gaps at electric field strengths which exceed 30 kV per centimeter. Over larger gaps, its breakdown strength is weaker, perhaps 1 kV per centimeter. 54. The most visible natural occurrence of PHYs is lightning, caused when charge becomes separated in the clouds by rising columns of air, and raises the electric field in the air to greater than it can withstand. The voltage of a large lightning cloud may be as high as 100 MV and have discharge energies as great as 250 kWh. 55. The field strength is greatly affected by nearby conducting objects, and it is particularly intense when it is forced to curve around sharply pointed objects. This principle is exploited in the lightning conductor, the sharp spike of which acts to encourage the lightning stroke to develop there, rather than to the building it serves to protect. 56. 155 Electric potential. Two AA batteries each have a plus sign marked at one end. A pair of AA cells. The and sign indicates the polarity of the potential difference between the battery terminals. The concept of electric potential is closely linked to that of the electric field. A small charge placed within an electric field experiences a force, and to have brought that charge to that point against the force requires work. The electric potential at any point is defined as the energy required to bring a unit test charge from an infinite distance slowly to that point. It is usually measured in volts, and 1 volt is the potential for which 1 joule of work must be expended to bring a charge of 1 coulomb from infinity. 19. 494-98 This definition of potential, while formal, has little practical application, and a more useful concept is that of electric potential difference, and is the energy required to move on each charge between two specified points. An electric field has the special property that it is conservative, which means that the path taken by the test charge is irrelevant. All paths between two specified points expend the same energy, and thus a unique value for potential difference may be stated. 19. 494-98 The volt is so strongly identified as the unit of choice for measurement and description of electric potential difference that the term voltage sees greater everyday usage. For practical purposes, it is useful to define a common reference point to which potentials may be expressed and compared. While this could be at infinity, a much more useful reference is the Earth itself, which is assumed to be at the same potential everywhere. This reference point naturally takes the name Earth or ground. Earth is assumed to be an infinite source of equal amounts of positive and negative charge, and is therefore electrically uncharged and unchargeable. 57. Electric potential is a scalar quantity, that is, it has only magnitude and not direction. It may be viewed as analogous to height, just as a released object will fall through a difference in heights caused by a gravitational field, so a charge will fall across the voltage caused by an electric field. 58. As relief maps how contour lines marking points of equal height, a set of lines marking points of equal potential, known as equipotentials, may be drawn around an electrostatically charged object. The equipotentials cross all lines of force at right angles. They must also lie parallel to a conductor's surface, otherwise this would produce a force that will move the charge carriers to even the potential of the surface. The electric field was formally defined as the force exerted per unit charge, but the concept of potential allows for a more useful and equivalent definition. The electric field is the local gradient of the electric potential, usually expressed in volts per meter. The vector direction of the field is the line of greatest slope of potential, and where the equipotentials lie closest together. 38. 60 Electromagnets. A wire carries a current towards the reader. concentric circles representing the magnetic field circle anticlockwise around the wire, as viewed by the reader. Magnetic field circles around a current. Stades' discovery in 1821 that a magnetic field existed around all sides of a wire carrying an electric current indicated that there was a direct relationship between electricity and magnetism. Moreover, the interaction seemed different from gravitational and electrostatic forces, the two forces of nature then known. The force on the compass needle did not direct it to or away from the current-carrying wire, but acted at right angles to it. 49. Stades' words were that the electric conflict acts in a revolving manner. Force also depended on the direction of the current, for if the flow was reversed, then the force did too. 59. Stades did not fully understand his discovery, but he observed the effect was reciprocal. A current exerts a force on a magnet, and a magnetic field exerts a force on a current. The phenomenon was further investigated by Ampere, who discovered that two parallel current-carrying wires exerted a force upon each other. Two wires conducting currents in the same direction are attracted to each other, while wires containing currents in opposite directions are forced apart. 60. The interaction is mediated by the magnetic field each current produces and forms the basis for the international definition of the ampere. 60. This relationship between magnetic fields and currents is extremely important, for it led to Michael Faraday's invention of the electric motor in 1821. Faraday's homopolar motor consisted of a permanent magnet sitting in a pool of mercury. A current was allowed through a wire suspended from a pivot above the magnet and dipped into the mercury. The magnet exerted a tangential force on the wire, making it circle around the magnet for as long as the current was maintained. 61. Experimentation by Faraday in 1831 revealed that a wire moving perpendicular to a magnetic field developed a potential difference between its ends. Further analysis of this process, known as electromagnetic induction, enabled him to state the principle, now known as Faraday's law of induction, that the potential difference induced in a closed circuit is proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux through the loop. Exploitation of this discovery enabled him to invent the first electrical generator in 1831, in which he converted the mechanical energy of a rotating copper disc to electrical energy. 61. Faraday's disc was inefficient and of no use as a practical generator, but it showed the possibility of generating electric power using magnetism, a possibility that would be taken up by those that followed on from his work.
Yes, just continue, but I think I should download some more electric motor and this ampere. But I will look at that later what I do. But my reading list just grow bigger and bigger.
A cutaway diagram of a small electric motor. The electric motor exploits an important effect of electromagnetism. A current through a magnetic field experiences a force at right angles to both the field and current. Electrochemistry. Italian physicist Alessandro Volta, showing his battery to French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte in the early 19th century. The ability of chemical reactions to produce electricity, and conversely the ability of electricity to drive chemical reactions, has a wide array of uses. Electrochemistry has always been an important part of electricity. From the initial invention of the voltaic pile, electrochemical cell shave evolved into the many different types of batteries, electroplating and electrolysis cells. Aluminium is produced in vast quantities this way, and many portable devices are electrically powered using rechargeable cells. Electric circuits. An electric circuit is an interconnection of electric components so that electric charge is made to flow along a closed path, a circuit, usually to perform some useful task. The components in an electric circuit can take many forms, which can include elements such as resistors, capacitors, switches, transformers and electronics. Electronic circuits contain active components, usually semiconductors, and typically exhibit nonlinear behavior, requiring complex analysis. The simplest electric components are those that are termed passive and linear. While they may temporarily store energy, they contain no sources of it, and exhibit linear responses to stimuli. 62. 1516 The resistor is perhaps the simplest of passive circuit elements. As its name suggests, it resists the current through it, dissipating its energy as heat. The resistance is a consequence of the motion of charge through a conductor. In metals, for example, resistance is primarily due to collisions between electrons and ions. Ohm's law is a basic law of circuit theory, stating that the current passing through a resistance is directly proportional to the potential difference across it. The resistance of most materials is relatively constant over a range of temperatures and currents. Materials under these conditions are known as ohmic. The ohm, the unit of resistance, was named in honor of Georg Ohm, and is symbolized by the Greek letter omega. 1 omega is the resistance that will produce a potential difference of 1 volt in response to a current of 1 amp. 62. 3035 The capacitor is a development of the Leyden jar and is a device that can store charge, and thereby storage electrical energy in the resulting field. It consists of two conducting plates separated by a thin insulating dielectric layer. In practice, thin metal foils are coiled together, increasing the surface area per unit volume and therefore the capacitance. The unit of capacitance is the farad, named after Michael Faraday, and given the symbol F. 1 farad is the capacitance that develops a potential difference of 1 volt when it stores a charge of 1 coulomb. A capacitor connected to a voltage supply initially causes a current as it accumulates charge. This current will however decay in time as the capacitor fills, eventually falling to 0. A capacitor will therefore not permit a steady state current, but instead blocks it. 62. 216.20 A basic electric circuit. The voltage source V on the left drives a current E around the circuit. Delivering electrical energy into the resistor R. From the resistor.
Yes, I need to go to bathroom, so I'll just stop the video. I will be back in a few minutes.